Good morning to you all on a Saturday morning. Fairly mild out, if you can call it mild. No sun, plenty of clouds. Anyhow, this brightens things up a bit. I was expecting this phone from Ukraine, and it arrived. It arrived early as far as I can make out. So the postal service from Ukraine and Kiev, where this was sent from, seems to be quite good. As you can see, it's a telephone. Surprise, surprise. Yep, it's a TAH-70, or we would probably better know it as a TAN-70. And there is the actual instrument. These instruments are what you would call brand spanking new. They are obviously old stock that has never gone out. They were in the box, beautifully packed. Travelled through our post, so they had to be beautifully packed. It was double boxed with plenty of bubble wrap around it. So yeah, it arrived okay. Now, what do I say about the actual telephone? We can probably tell by my voice reaction that it is not, as far as I'm concerned, 100% good. Realise, I suppose, that these, and they were, I can tell you where they were manufactured. Got it written down. They were manufactured by the OJSC PERM, that's PERM, telephone plant. And the company called themselves Telstra, TELTA. Now, looking up where PERM is, what PERM is, and I found out it's a town. And it's a town on one of the stations on the Siberian Railway in Russia. So yeah, the place exists, and the company, as far as I know, is still going strong. And they specialised, well, at the time this phone was made, they specialised in hardwired phones. I say hardwired, obviously meaning hardwired and printed circuit. I showed a phone previously on my channel from Russia, and I believe that is also made by this same company. They call themselves PERM, and that was obviously an older one. So yep, the company's still going. Now, what strikes me is the, should I say, flimsiness. While we're looking, I've got a circuit there, I'll hold that on there. If any of you have been lucky enough to have one of these phones and want to know where everything goes, that's your circuit diagram. There is a little write-up about this on Classic Rotary Phones, the American forum, which is very, very good. You might even see my name there. Anyhow, that is the circuit. Now I'm showing you the case. Very, very thin, obviously made of plastic. What isn't very good is the retaining nuts to retain it onto the base. This one we're looking at now had completely come out, and on the end of the screw, which would fit in there, that one there, was a nut on it, and I thought, well, why's he got a nut on it? And it wasn't until I looked and realised that the nut had pulled through. The plastic, or whatever it is, holding it in, unfortunately was not very good. So that looks like a little job for a tiny touch of araldite, only a small touch. It has to be able to hold that nut in without getting the araldite on the threads. So here goes. And that was also the square that would have been taken from the top. So all in all, a very poor fixing for the case. Why they couldn't have had it done differently, but I suppose when you think, it's all down to cost. These were obviously made down to a price, and I suppose 90% of these were probably perfectly okay. It just happens that I happened to get one which was a bit faulty, but it can be repaired. That's the beauty. Turning him over, there we see the case in shiny black. As I said, these cases were made of plastic. I don't go into ins and outs whether they're Diacom or what's it. I just don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it's a plastic, brand new. As regards this phone, has never received a call. It's never been in use. So that's what we have. Anyway, I have got a picture, a thumbnail picture on this telephone. Now let's make sure I don't lose that little nut. There we are. Now coming back to the instrument itself, I'm hoping the ringer is going to work. It seemed to have been locked up. I think I've freed it. Once again, perhaps this is down to the fact that it's quite an old phone. There is a date on there which I'll show you at the back. There's your bell, standard type of bell. Well, I say standard, it's the typical AC bell used in phones. The mechanism is not bad. I've seen better. The sound or the ringer volume is done by that little knurled knob. Don't think it's very effective, but I'm going to try it later on a bit of ringing and see if it works. In there you've got your cradle spring adjusters, which are totally different to anything I've seen before. I suppose you could say they're unique. As you put the cradle down, you alter the contacts. So that is certainly different to any of the other phones I've seen. Normal components exist on the PCB. You've got your two rectifiers there that are used to act as anti-click on the receiver. Got two capacitors there. The big one is obviously for the ringer circuit, and the other one is to do with the induction coil, which is on there. It's looking more like a transformer, but I suppose they're all virtually the same thing. You've got your connection. This is a good point. The connections to the dial are clear and easily laid out. Interesting to say that all the connections are in brass. Here are the connections for the receiver and the line in, which is on, I think it's white and red. Yeah, they've used white and red. Just the two wires, so it's Very simple, and you take it away to that little terminal block, which is exactly the same as the one on the previous phone I showed from Russia, and you can see a trademark there which we've seen before. It's obviously of this company that manufactured the phone. That, I think, covers the innards. Not quite, but I'm going to turn it over and have a look at the rear. Here, a unique feature. No number arrangement is arranged on the cover. So where does the subscriber put his number? He puts it on the base of the phone. So that's where the subscriber's number would go. So he alone would probably know where it is. There's that sign again, and Cyrillic, which is probably the Russian name of that company, but unfortunately I don't read Cyrillic, so it's a case of just thinking what it could be. You've got your adjuster there for the bell. Very small feet, which seems to be the norm on this type of phone. You've also got 1978, so that would be when this telephone was made. These dates are also confirmed with dates on some of the components. But what is interesting, I have seen other vids of this model, and where this space is, they have normally numbers of it and the cost. Yeah, they even told you how much each of these phones cost. This one doesn't have that. It's got that mark there, which I think is probably a control mark or something. I don't quite know what that is. But anyhow, this model does not show, well, this year doesn't show how much it would cost to buy. And that's an interesting point. Turn it back. Let's have a look. One good thing about this phone is the dial. It is a particularly well-made dial. It's a complete copy of the version manufactured by Siemens. It seems Siemens were very good at making dials. If you remember rightly, in England it was Siemens Brothers who introduced the slipping cam dial, which was quite a popular dial. Well, obviously in Germany, the other brothers that were left in Germany, along with, I can't think of his name, the other gentleman, S.H. Halsky, who was a big brains behind the whole company, they developed this type of dial. I'm not taking the cover off. As you can see, it's sealed, and I thought, well, there's no point in taking it off. The dial works okay. You've got, let me put my little pointer. You've got the off-normal springs. Am I telling you that right? No, I'm not. They're the pulsing springs. You've got a wheel there which operates and releases that. And these there are your off-normals. There's the sealed cover. You've also got this spring in the middle, which is so typical of this type of dial, which locks in when you reach the number stop. You see this type of dial on numerous phones. I believe the Dutch HEMAF phone probably uses that same dial, but it is quite a popular dial. Anyhow, enough of me chatting away on the actual telephone circuit. Let's have a quick look at the receiver. There's your receiver. Earpiece there. And this is screwable. This outer thing is screwed on and encapsulated the diaphragm. This in fact was loose. When I got the phone it was loose. I could hear it rattling. So just tightening that screw, it's on a thread, and should be okay. I haven't tried this phone out yet. The transmitter is a typical continental type. Got this code letters again with the manufacturers. You've got that little trademark or CCP thing which also appears on the front of the dial. The number there. Got that same name again. Date 76. And that is your transmitter. It's obviously carbon granules, and it's made exactly the same way as so many were that was used on the continent. And they would fit into the contacts there, which also, they're not tin, they're all in brass. Even the spade terminals are all brass all the way through. Anyhow, that is more or less all I can say about this phone. What are my opinions of it, or rather the construction? A lot of the stuff is made to be easily replaced, like the connections to the dial. They're only terminaled on one side. These go inside the mechanism and are soldered. Connections laid out quite easily using spade terminals. Once again, they're all brass. The only drawback I didn't particularly like was the way the loudness of the bell is controlled. I'm still not 100% certain whether that is going to work properly, and the case fixing, which is in my opinion pretty poor. Also, the caps are very, very flimsy, and I would say that when you screw these back, don't get them cross-threaded, because the threads are quite close. Be easier to get them cross-threaded and to tighten them up too much, because these would crack. Fortunately, these are both okay. There's the earphone part. Very, very flimsy. But they obviously do the job, and yeah, have been built down to a price, I would say. The cords on it are black. You've got the old twisty cord there, line cord, both black. They go to a terminal block, which I believe I've shown. Yeah, that is more or less it. Any questions, please ask. I see I've got a visitor coming through, or he's going out the room. My pussycat. So once again, thanks for watching. Any comments, please make. Many thanks to comments that have been on my previous videos. I must admit, I prefer to thank you all by speech. My typing is not good. I use one finger to type. It does take me a long time. So that is my excuse why I haven't always answered stuff. But I do apologise. We can't be good at everything, and I'm certainly not good at typing, and I'm not good at computers. You know my opinion of computers and mobile phones, not landlines. These were a much more satisfactory thing, but with mobile phones and all the apps and stuff they hold, I personally believe this is probably the cause of a lot of troubles within the world. But anyway, I'm not going to get on to that subject. I listen to world news and I'm not very happy. But what can I do about it? Very little. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I shall check this over, see that it rings okay. Put a little dab of Araldite on the fixings of the actual gongs to keep them from turning, because they're more or less adjusted right, but I think they are. But the screws are very poor. It's okay. I've said my bad points with this phone. There's your capacitors, which were also got a date there. It's at 0876. Yeah, lots of funny things about this phone. I'm glad I've got this in the collection now. I've seen several on YouTube with very good explanations. I thought, yeah, I've got to add those. So I bought a brand new one, and there's the box. Anyhow, I'm talking too much, so thanks again. Thank you.